a Christian program co-host and daughter-in-law of Daystar founders Marcus and Joni Lamb, claims that she was sexually assaulted at Daystar by an unlicensed chiropractor her in-laws had hired. And when she told her in-laws about it, they silenced her. They covered it up, and she was pressured to hide her sexual assault. And this is I've never heard of them until this news article broke, but I also don't watch a lot of Christian entertainment like this. But they're an evangelical TV show. I'm not even sure what they discuss, quite frankly. I don't care. But the fact is that they are purposing to cover up sexual abuse of someone that they hired with their family member.
Yeah, honestly, and this is just a sad reality, but this is typical of a lot of the abuse cases that I have encountered in churches. They want the victim to stay quiet. They do not report child abuse. They want to cover everything up and, for everything to be sunshine and roses and forgiveness, regardless of whether or not there has been repentance or accountability or truth. And so unfortunately, this is part of a larger pattern. It sounds like, so it's her in-laws. So this must have happened when she was an adult, correct?
Yeah. It says, according to Johnathan and Suzy, the chiropractor who sexually assaulted her had previously lost his license because he allegedly assaulted a minor.
Okay.
TRR is not revealing the chiropractor's identity because he was never charged for that crime, apparently. Then it goes on and says Marcus and Joni, who are the owners of this program, and the hosts of it, believe the chiropractor had come to Jesus and was a changed man. So they invited him to Daystar to work on the family in the family green room.
Oh.
The green room is a lounge for on-air performers where they go when they're not in the studio.
Yeah.
Suzy said, for a couple of years, everything went fine, and the man worked on her in the green room without incident. But then he started becoming more belligerent, and one day she said he seemed drunk as he was working on her. Johnny's assistant was normally in the room with the chiropractor when he was seeing patients, but Suzy said that for about 5 minutes, the assistant left the room because she had to use the bathroom. During the time she was gone, Suzy said the man violently sexually assaulted her. She says the assault was not rape, but he left her reeling in pain. As soon as the chiropractor left the building, Suzy called Johnathan and told him what had happened. I believe Johnathan is Suzy's husband, and
yeah, I think so.
Johnathan is Johnny's son, I believe. Johnathan said his blood was boiling, and he immediately called Marcus and Joni, who were out of town, to report what had happened. Johnathan said Marcus told Johnathan he'd handle it and instructed Johnathan not to talk about it. In the meantime, Suzy said that it was all that she could do to hold herself together, knowing that the chiropractor knew where she lived. Yeah. And used to joke that he knew how to snap someone's neck in seconds.
Oh, yeah, he's a chiropractor. I'm sure he can.
The next day, as Suzy prepared to fill in for Marcus and Joni on their show, her body revolted and she threw up in the bathroom. PTSD.
Yeah.
Shock. But Suzy said she also knew what was expected of her, so she soldiered on and hosted her show anyway. Several days later, when Joni was back in town, Suzy said Joni told her that Marcus had paid off the chiropractor.
What?
And he wasn't a threat anymore. Suzy said, as she's recalling the discussion with Joni, that Joni said, we need to protect Daystar. And I want to protect you, so don't say a word about it to anyone. Suzy said she dutifully obeyed what her mother-in-law told her and eventually got over it, quote unquote, and I forgot it happened. In 2021, the chiropractor passed away. But in January of this year, Suzy said the trauma of the assault returned and she started to wake up panicking and sweating. What especially scared her, she said, was the way Joni had gotten her to bury the assault. Suzy said she couldn't help wondering if that was what Joni had done to her 5-year-old daughter when Joni had met with a girl to talk about her assault.
Wait, what?
Let me make sure I read that right. Suzy said she couldn't help wondering if that was what Joni had done to her 5-year-old daughter when Joni had met with the girl to talk about her assault.
So okay.
As we've reported earlier, in November 2020, Suzy's daughter disclosed to her that she had been inappropriately touched. The girl then used her hands to indicate she'd been finger-graped vaginally and anally. But when Suzy called Joni to tell her about the alleged abuse, Joni reportedly urged her not to go to the police, but instead to bring the girl to Joni. After the girl met one-on-one with Joni, she stopped talking about the alleged abuse and hasn't spoken of it to this day, both Suzy and Johnathan told TRR. In a statement, Daystar denied the allegations that Joni or Marcus covered up her granddaughter's sexual assault. Over 3 years ago, they say, in a thoroughly investigated and since resolved matter, it was confirmed that any allegations referencing sexual misconduct involving any Lamb family members were not credible and unfounded, Daystar said. Marcus and Joni never covered up any type of sexual abuse perpetrated by anyone, nor would they ever tolerate any abuse against their granddaughter or a child.
That's bizarre.
Joni Lamb is aware of an incident in 2017 that Suzy Lamb raised involving a chiropractor, Daystar says. Suzy had a long history of requesting the chiropractor at issue to work on her, both at Daystar and at her home. When Suzy was treated at Daystar, a witness was always present as required by Marcus. In 2017, Suzy Lamb reported to Marcus and Joni that the chiropractor inappropriately touched her. The word grape was never used, and nothing that would constitute grape was mentioned by Suzy. The witness in the room at the time of that alleged incident denied that anything inappropriate occurred. Nonetheless, Marcus immediately released the chiropractor. No one paid off the chiropractor as alleged in your email, but hey, guess what? I bet you that a paper trail could prove if there was indeed a chiropractor that was paid off.
Yeah, they might be able to call it severance pay, I suppose.
Yeah, they sure could.
Yeah.
And then the article goes on, but it's extremely concerning, and it's very, it shows a pattern in the Christian community, and both of us recognize this, being that we worked or currently work for ECAP, where Christians will excuse sexual abuse of any type because the perpetrator is claiming Jesus and forgiveness.
Yes, yes. Well, I am glad to hear that the chiropractor has finally met Jesus, for sure. But yeah, this kind of thing, it is. Unfortunately, it's typical. And I want to encourage, like, if is anyone listening, if you ever encounter assault, whether it be sexual or just violent sexual abuse, child abuse, don't call your religious leaders first. Don't call your pastor first. Don't call your church first. Call the police. Call law enforcement first, get it reported, then deal with anybody else who needs to know. Because I'm sorry to be the bearer of hard truths, but most church leaders, and this includes leaders of Christian Television Network, and Christian organization, they do not handle these things correctly. They will handle this in whatever way they think will preserve their organization or their business better. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, there seems to be this thought, and I think it kind of, at least to me, it was very typical, especially in like the 80s, but it's still kind of clinging on in a lot of churches and organizations, particularly where there's older people in charge. This idea that if someone is abused in your church or in your community, it somehow reflects badly on the entire community, or it somehow reflects badly on Jesus. That's not the case. What reflects badly on Jesus and on your community is when something bad happens, and instead of holding the abuser accountable, instead of protecting the victim, you silence the victim and you sweep the abuser off into another church or another youth group or another community. That's what really damages the credibility of the church. It's lying. Acknowledging truth, acknowledging that something bad happened, that's transparent. That's accountability. That's being responsible. Being responsible is never going to make you look bad. It's crazy to me.
What's crazy to me is that, and the fact that in the name of forgiveness, ministry leaders and Christian leaders are brushing such horrible, evil acts under the rug in the name of
Yeah,
forgiveness. How does that serve the victim and the survivor? How does that serve their family well? How does
it
that
doesn't.
ensure that they don't look at Christianity as less than what they did before that assault happened? Because they
Yeah,
will. They
yeah,
inevitably will. And you're defiling the gospel by not coming alongside these victims and supporting them and reporting. You have a responsibility by law to
yes,
report any accusations that are brought your way. If you suspect that someone, it doesn't matter if it's a child, that someone is being abused, you have to go and you have to report that.
yeah. You
And if
can't
you're
just,
not, you're breaking the law of the land. You're
yeah,
sinning against God and
yeah,
you're not serving people well. You're actually enabling that abuser, that perpetrator, that predator to go to another church and to
yeah.
do it all over again.
Well, it's like, it's the parable. It's like the parable of the Good Samaritan. The what is it? The priest and the rabbi, they walk by the man who's beat up on the side of the road. But in the modern, Christian evangelical rendition, the evangelical pastor or church leader or TV evangelist walks by the beat up man, and instead of helping the beat up man, he goes and finds the robbers and takes them out to dinner. That's essentially what happens in evangelical Christian churches.
And you deal with it on a regular basis, being that you help the vulnerable almost as a mediator between them and the church so that
Yeah,
they get the support that they need.
yeah.
And I just commend you for doing that work because it's not easy. It's
Thank
not for
you.
the faint of heart.
It
It's
is, yeah,
hard.
it's very hard. And I did it quite regularly before. I've kind of stepped back from it recently because it is mentally and spiritually wearing on you. And it's very easy to become so cynical and paranoid. And so I found that I needed to step back, but I still do on occasion. But yeah, it is hard and it is a pervasive problem. And I really hope that those crimes that we read about in that article have been reported now and are investigated. It was interesting to me that I believe it was Daystar's statement that they said that the claims had been investigated. I would just ask by who? By who?
Mm.
Because, oh my gosh, I've had churches tell me, oh yeah, we investigated that. They had a couple elders' wives who have no idea what the heck they're doing go ask a few questions. Or this was the richest thing I'd ever heard. This gal on Twitter said that, oh yeah, me and my friends investigated this person's claims and they're false. And I'm like, you're an anonymous Twitter account. Who the heck are you? You don't even have law enforcement, social services. These people have training and they have resources to go in person and investigate these cases. That's what's required. And ideally, they have objectivity. You cannot have someone in your own church investigating people that they've had potluck dinner with 100 times. I'm sorry, that's idiotic. They're biased. They're going to miss things. Even if they try, they give it a good, honest try to be objective. They cannot be objective. They cannot. Because they either like or dislike various people in the case.
Jen, this gets deeper.
Oh no.
I just went on to Joni Lamb's X account, and the first post posted 16 hours ago
Oh dear.
is the son of Daystar Founders launches smear campaign when he is not named future president. And then there's an official statement posted from Daystar about how Johnathan, the husband of Suzy, the son of Johnny and Marcus, are supposedly on a smear campaign against them because he's not being named the future president. I can guarantee you that's not why he's on any kind of smear campaign. It's probably has to do with the fact that they covered up his wife's sexual assault and don't care about his daughter's sexual assault.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. That got me on fire. Official statement from Joni Lamb on the termination of her son Johnathan Lamb from Daystar and circulating rumors and allegations. It's amazing how people can, in your face, say that they are a Christian and they love people and they love Jesus, but then when it hits the fan and they
They'll throw
have a
their own kid under the
chance,
bus. Yeah.
yep, and they have a chance to live out their faith, they actually do the complete opposite. And that, my friend, is how you know wolves in sheep's clothing.
Well, and it's just insane. I mean, I don't know, say what they're saying is even true. Why would they react that way? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, oh my gosh, I can't.
Well, it's all to preserve their image. It's all about
Yeah.
preserving their image. It has nothing to do
Yeah.
about honoring God.
Well, and what's ironic to me is it makes them look terrible. It makes them look really bad. So, but it's like I was talking to what was he? Assistant chief of police in our local constable. I asked them, because my own church was trying to excommunicate me because I had named child abusers. Talking to this assistant chief of police, this was a couple of years ago, back when my church was trying to excommunicate me because I had publicly named several child abusers who were still openly attending church or pastoring or teaching in our denomination. So my church was trying to excommunicate me, and I asked this assistant chief of police, I was like, why do they do this? Don't they understand that all they have to do is when they encounter child abuse, report child abuse? That's it. Covering it up makes them look bad. They think that they're protecting their brand. They think that they're protecting Jesus. They think that they're protecting, their reputations or their resumes. But this actually makes them look terrible. Why do they do it? And he said, because abusers are irrational. Nothing they do will make sense. They're irrational because they are abusers. And that's when it really clicked to me that these people that cover up abuse, these people that enable abuse enablers, they're abusers too.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I want you to go on her X account. I would never encourage trolling, but her self-righteousness and her deflecting on her X account is jaw-dropping. Okay, anyway, so everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Jenn and Becca podcast. We will be back shortly after Thanksgiving with another episode. In the meantime, please give us a like, comment below, and even tag a friend if you're inclined to. And share. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, please do so. Hit that bell button so you're notified every time a new segment, reel, or long form video comes out. That would help us by pushing our content to more followers, or potential followers rather.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And hey, after Thanksgiving, we'll have to look over our receipts and see if we're able to stay within that $58 budget.
I can guarantee you. I'm not a betting woman, but I would bet on this that it is going to be quadruple that for Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
I should become an independent fact checker.
You should. Well, you can on X. You can become one of those people that do the reader comment. What is it? The thing where it's fact checking essentially. I forget what they call it on here, but
community notes. Is that it?
I love the community notes. They're frequently hilarious.
Oh, I didn't mean to follow her. Unfollow. Okay.
Ew,
sorry.
yeah.
I follow Jesus alone.
Well, sometimes I follow people who I don't actually like, or who are just really, really different than me, exactly because I know that they're going to put out stuff that I'll be able to write about. I don't target them. Because I don't like, retweeting someone and chewing them out or making them look bad. So usually what I'll do is somebody will say something profoundly stupid or profoundly wrong. And then I tweet, I don't mention them, but I say this idea is wrong because, yeah.
I love your approach. Everybody go follow Jenn on X.
Jenn
and give me a follow too. I have 63 followers on X. But my Instagram is doing okay. I just pray every day that the Lord would keep it up and not completely ban me from the platform.
You're big on Instagram. I'm big on Twitter. I mean, together I feel like, we've got things covered.
Yeah, for sure.